Hi guys, so this is actually the second video that I'm filming for you today, because after I filmed the first one, I decided that I wanted to do another relaxation video. So this one's going to be different than some of the others I've done. The other ones I've done have been the hairbrushing. This is not going to be hairbrushing. This is going to be one of my personal hobbies, and I'm hoping that telling you about it and showing you some of the things that I've made will be relaxing for some of you, and at the very least, hopefully a bit interesting. I will warn you, this will probably be a longer video, but again, because it's for relaxation purposes, I'm hoping that's okay. So, let's get started. So one of my hobbies is needle felting, and what needle felting is, in case you're not aware, is taking something like this. This is merino wool roving, and I call it fluff. It's very much like fluff. This is actually all, it's roving because it's combed all in the same direction. And what I'll do is I will take a piece of this off and I'll show you with another one because it's easier to work with. This, here's a piece, is a gray color that I really like working with, and you can see a bit better with this because it's a different type of wool, and I believe this is called batting. I just recently learned the difference between the roving and the batting because sometimes the terms are used somewhat interchangeably on Etsy, where I buy most of my wool. But you can see this is more like just the fluff. It's not been combed in any specific direction. And so what I'll do is I will take this, a certain amount of it, depending on what I want to make, and I'll put it on this surface, which is foam. This part's probably going to be a bit awkward because this actually usually sits flat on my lap. And what I will do is I'll hold it with one hand, and clearly I can't do that right now, and then I use these needles, which you won't be able to see, but this is actually a bit of an upgrade for me. The point of it is actually twisted, but that's just a specific style. But these are felting needles because there are little barbs at the end of the needle, and that helps to, as you poke the wool like this many times, it begins to compact the wool, and you can create shapes with it. There are lots of videos on YouTube if you want to see the actual process. That would take me a very long time to do. Each piece takes quite a while because keep in mind that you're starting with this, and this has to be compacted all the way down to something very much smaller, and once it is compacted, you can create shapes with it with a little bit of working with your fingers. You don't use the needles to shape very much because if you do start to move them around more than just straight in and out, they break. So there's a little bit of, there's quite a lot of technique to it if you're really good at it, and I still consider myself a beginner, but I'm going to show you a few other colors of the wool that I have before I show you some things that I've made. I'm going to put the gray back in the bag, and I'm going to show you another color from the same company. And I currently buy all of my wool from US sellers. I prefer to, I wouldn't mind purchasing from like a UK seller as well or whatever, but I want to make sure that I feel like the sheep are taken care of appropriately and treated humanely, and many times on Etsy when you buy it they do give you a little bit of information about their farm, or I've asked in the past, and I like to support small businesses. That's a big thing for me because what I'm doing is a small business, and I do actually sell a lot of the things that I make on Etsy, and I will give you that link in case you're interested in buying any of them or just seeing more of my finished work. So this is called cobblestone, The color, I like working with this one because the first one you saw, the lavender merino, I'm not sure if you can see, this is much finer, whereas this is much coarser. And this one is the only one I have like this, but it actually has different types of like hair fibers within it. It has like the finer stuff, and then it has a slightly coarser, and then it has these longer ones that are a bit of a challenge to felt, but it gives a really nice texture to it. And I'm going to show you something that I made with this later, and I think you'll see what I mean. And then I have another one similar to the gray one, and this is a red color. And I do really love working with this shade of red. I'm not going to pull this apart too much, because the more I pull it apart, it's a bit harder to work with if I try to make something larger. But it's such a pretty color. I store most of my wool in either plastic bags that they come in, or originally I had them all in an organizer that was about this big by about this big. However, I've outgrown that, and I have many, many more colors now, and that organizer is packed full, so I actually have that organizer plus one of those large reusable shopping bags that has all my baggies in it, and I still can't fit all my colors in it. I really like the colors. This one is a green, and this one comes from Emma's Garden Primitives, or AG Primitives, and I'm telling you that because this is my favorite color so far, which is odd, because usually I prefer purple. Purple's my favorite color. I'm actually not a big green person. But this one is called Leaf, and I've created several things with this. In fact, I have 3 things to show you today that I've created using this color, and someone, one of my fans on Zivity, maybe 2 people, got little hedgehogs for Christmas that include this color because I like it so much. And again, that's Leaf, and it's a beautiful green. It really is. It's a bright green without being neon green. And I have one more, and this one is a robin's egg blue. And this also came from Etsy, and I actually have the bag here. This one came from the Ross farm. Those are the 2 places. I've tried a couple others, but I don't have the wool out here from them. And the merino, unfortunately that seller kind of disappeared on me, so I can't purchase any more of that. But anyway, this is robin's egg blue, and this one actually holds its shape somewhat well even before it's felted, and the different textures are interesting to me. So this one's just a little bit coarser, and I believe it's because it's from a different kind of sheep than the other ones, and I don't know what all of the kinds of sheep are, but this one is from, and please forgive me if I mispronounce this breed, I used to know how to pronounce all these, Cheviot, Cheviot. In fact, I'm almost positive I'm pronouncing that wrong. Sorry, but hopefully with the spelling you can find it if you're interested. Now I'll show you some of the things I've made. So I was talking about that cobblestone wool, the one with the different types of fibers in it. And this little guy, his body is made from that. And he's still a little squishy, depending on how much you felt the wool, and or how firm you felt it, because the more you felt, the firmer it gets and the more compact and tight the fibers get, whereas if you felt more lightly, it will be looser. So this little guy is an owl with green, and I've had a blue one who who's already gone to another home. And I actually had a little snowy owl too that has been purchased as well. But he's got the little ears, which would make him a horned owl, I suppose, and I am aware that most owls do not have those. But my style is very sort of whimsical and fantasy cartoon, sort of. So this is how people see owls, in my opinion, in that way. So there's this little guy, and then I have a second one who is purple, and you'll see the wings have been felted on. They don't actually come loose, but they're felted on, and it took me a while to decide on this design, and I had a lot of people asking me why I hadn't made owls yet, because I like owls. And I told them that I wanted to make sure that I had a design that I had done, and I'm going to just copy someone else's design, because I don't like that idea, especially not if I'm selling something. And I wanted something that fit with the other creatures I had made. I should have shown you those first, since this is my most recent design, but and I do realize, I'm sure there are other people who make very, very similar looking owls, because with needle felting, the simpler it is, the more common the design will be, just because that's how our minds work. But this is not intentionally like anyone else's. But they have little beaks, and the little beak sticks out, and I've been careful to make sure it curves at the top and then tapers at the bottom. I'm quite pleased with the beak. They have little eyes, and then the face is kind of heart-shaped, and then they have the two wings. And I've generally left it at that. I might try some other things, but this is kind of what I go with, and I like these guys. I'll show you a little bit later some of the other ones, because they're still somewhat squishy, and I like the tactile sort of feeling. And this is not the merino, so it's a bit rougher wool, and I like that feeling. Also matches my fingernails quite well today, apparently. So those are owls. Now what I'm going to show you next is perhaps what people recognize me for doing the most. And I've kind of got a little obsession with these guys. They are hedgehogs. Now this is my specific design. Again, I'm not saying I'm the only one who does them like this, but I love the sort of cute, almost, these aren't quite as silhouette type as some other ones I have that I'll show you, but they have the little faces. Look at the little face. Such a cute face. And they all have different faces, because when you work with the wool, you're sculpting it, and everybody's face ends up a little bit different. Like this little guy. See? His face is a little bit narrower, and his nose is a little bit pointier. And I do work on making them a teensy bit different, but I kind of just let it go and let them form the way that they form. I don't have a specific pattern, I just work with it until I like the way that it looks. So there's two of them. And these guys are somewhat squishy as well. It's a little squishy. And then I have this one who has a heart on his back. Not perfectly symmetrical. He's okay with that. And he's a little bit rounder. See? And his little nose is a little bit shallower, I guess you would say. Then I have this one, which is an ornament. And she has that green, that leaf green that I said I really liked. But she also has a pattern that I felted onto her. She's quite fancy. And this is actually a multicolor wool. I don't have it out with me, but this is actually a multicolor merino wool that I really love working with, and it's a shame that that company has disappeared on me, because I so love that color. I have a blue as well. And here's another one with the leaf. He is also quite fancy. I kind of assign genders as I go. So Sometimes I might call them a he when I've called them a she in the past, and it's just how I feel at the moment. Don't read too much into it. They can be whatever you want them to be. So this one has like a chocolate color and then little white spots with the leaf green again. And then I have this one, which is actually the first ornament that I made. Yes. He's quite cute. He's quite cute. And he is a hard candy hedgehog, in color, of course, with the green and the red and the white and a little red nose. And then I have those guys, and as you can see, these guys they're palm-sized for me. For other people they would be smaller because my hands are tiny. But then I have these guys, which are even smaller. Again, this is made of that multicolor. Put these other ones down. Quite tiny. And she's actually a lilac color with that multicolor on her back and her nose. Then I have this little white and blue one, who is similarly multicolor blue with a little nose that matches. But that is not the smallest ones I have. I actually also have this one, which I may not be able to display properly because she is so tiny. Let's see. She's actually a plum purple and red. She looks almost black, but she's actually plum purple. And the lighting here is catching her quite nicely for the colors. Very small. And these were one of the first things that I made, the really tiny ones. And I made them to be like a worry doll or a pocket stone that you put in your pocket and you just sort of touch it when you're feeling nervous, or when you maybe, I think sometimes people with anxiety, it helps them feel better. And I know for me, sometimes having a little something that makes you feel better is nice. Of course, they're made of wool, and eventually, if you kept it in your pocket forever, it would wear down, but I think it's kind of a nice thing to have. But they also look really cute in like a fairy garden, or with even like, I imagine like my niece playing with them with like Barbies or, other toys, because they're about that size, or dollhouses. So there's the tiny hedgehogs. Then I also have, and since I store these guys together, sometimes the fibers. Look. Tiny bunnies. I love the bunnies. See his little face and ears. And he's got a little tail. I love their tails. I've got another one that you might be able to see a tiny bit better. Yes. This is a jade green bunny. There's the tail. And the bunnies are something I've had a lot of fun making, because these two aren't a great example, but most of them I've sold. They all turn out a little bit differently. Here's a slightly larger one, and you can see this one's ears are a little bit more straight up and down. And then you see one curves down a bit more, one straight up. They all kind of have their own little personalities. So there's the bunnies. And I have a few more things to show you. I'm going to show you something else that I've only made a few of. And I haven't decided if I'm going to make more yet. These tentacle pendants, as in necklaces, and you could put them on a chain, and I have the ring installed at the top already, or you could put other things with them, or they could be like a charm. I didn't put a chain with them because I feel like people probably add their own or want it to be a specific way, and with chains, what's a good length for me might not be a good length for you. And chains are usually something that I think a lot of women kind of or at least I do, I have a few chains that I like, and I just switch the pendants out. So I don't need 50 chains. I just need 3 or 4 different ones, maybe not even that many. So yeah, I really like these guys though, and I worked hard to make the little suckers actually look like suckers. Instead of just making them circles, they actually have like the little indentation on them and everything, so these are pretty nice. And then a couple more Christmas ornaments I made that I have listed. This little guy, I keep calling him a cheeky koi because his face just looks like he would kind of be a brat. And he's got, his pattern is a little bit different on each side. He's got a string. Although any of the ones with strings, the strings could easily, and I did this on purpose, the string could easily be cut off and just pulled out, and you probably wouldn't see the hole from it. I didn't make the holes too big. I just like sewed the string through for that purpose. And then I have this one, which is a little bird. And she is a dove, but she has little swirls on her wings. And a little blue on her tail and on her chest. And finally, these, I made 3 of these. I only have 2 left. I might make more. These are alien space kitties. And I'm going to spend a little time on these 2 little guys because they are probably the most detailed things I've made so far. Other than one other thing, which I don't have to show you at the moment. So this is the first one I made. And this one is the lavender colored roving that I showed you, with a couple different shades of purple. And she's got her little ears are filled in with pink. She's got little eyes. I don't put mouths on things, as you may have noticed, other than the beaks on the owls. I like for people to be able to imagine them having the faces that they want them to have. And I think that's like kind of the worry doll concept, because a lot of times when I've seen worry dolls, they have eyes, sometimes, but not usually faces, or at least I don't imagine them with faces. And since I've created them, I like to kind of make them that way. So, and he's got little stripes on his head, and little circles on his belly, but then he has stripes going down his back too. Because he's an alien kitty, and he can be purple with stripes. But this one is a little bit more tactile in a way, because these little bumps are actually raised, and even more so on the back. So he's got little bumps and these things on his ears. You can see that as well. And his head. And the little eyes. I love the eyes. I call them anime eyes, because that's what they remind me of. And this one's hot pink and dark gray. The other one was the lavender and purple. And they're slightly different sizes. And like I said, when I start felting, sometimes I don't know exactly how it's going to turn out. Like with these, the other thing you can see is the pink one's ears are almost symmetrical, which is a feat. But the purple one, the ears are a little bit staggered. Like this one's a little more pointy, whereas this one's a little more down. And that's what I really like about working with this. And I do kind of consider it an art form. And I don't mean that what other people do isn't an art form. I mean that what I do, even though I'm sometimes recreating a design, like the bunnies, they're similar. But they all turn out a little bit differently, which is really nice. I really like that. And so, that is my needle felted creations. And I will link my Etsy shop below in case you'd like to check them out and see some of the other stuff I've made. Hopefully the volume was okay here. I am a little closer to the camera, so I'm not sure how that's going to translate as far as volume goes. I'm hoping that eventually I will get a new camera that allows me to input a microphone, which means I will also have to get a microphone. But for now, I think this camera's worked out pretty well. Pretty pleased with it, and I hope that you are too. Make sure you check out my other videos when you have a moment, and let me know what you think about this one. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!